go to Sydney now. Joining us live, former ambassador to Israel, former Liberal MP Dave Sharma as well. Dave, good to see you. Thanks for your time. Let's start with this new video that has emerged from the IDF this morning. So we're seeing more than we've ever seen before, Dave. We've seen weapons in hospitals. Now you've got these tunnels underneath the Al-Shifa Hospital complex. First of all, what are your thoughts on what's been revealed so far?
Well, it's shocking, but it's also not surprising, Peter. I mean, it's one of the worst kept secrets in Gaza, and I've been there a number of times. I know you've also travelled there. One of the worst kept secrets is that Hamas uses hospitals for military purposes, and it was well known on the streets of Gaza that a major headquarters element of Hamas was based under the Al-Shifa Hospital. So it doesn't surprise me these tunnels we're finding. And it's important to bear in mind that we've been talking a lot about international humanitarian law throughout this conflict. A hospital loses its protected status once it begins to be used for military purposes under the law of armed conflict. So, this is why Israel is focusing its operations on this hospital. In doing so, seeking to minimise civilian casualties as it should, but this shows you the difficulty of this war landscape here in Gaza.
Yeah, and I suppose that the follow-up question to that is that does that justify the attacks from Israel now on Al-Shifa or near Al-Shifa?
Well, I think they're justified to treat it as a military target because it's clearly being used for military purposes. As the tunnels show, there was footage released earlier today that showed that 2 of the hostages were actually dragged into Al-Shifa Hospital on the day of this mass terrorist attack and kidnapping on the 7th of October. So clearly it is being used for military purposes. Now, that doesn't mean that Israel has carte blanche to go in there. They need to be careful. They need to seek to evacuate the patients and civilians, which they're doing. They need to use proportionate force, which, as far as I can tell, they are doing as well. They're not dropping bombs on Al-Shifa Hospital. But it's a difficult operation. I mean, we saw this in Mosul, of course, when ISIS was using a hospital in Mosul as a military base, and the coalition, of which Australia was a part, had a very difficult operation to take that military target whilst seeking to make sure that civilian loss of life was minimised.
Yeah. It's just fascinating looking at these pictures. I mean, not only are they well fortified, it just goes to show how long they've been there for. And this sort of stuff takes years to build. Now, Israel has been accused of not providing enough evidence of there being a command and control centre within Al-Shifa, with the guns and whatnot, because they're just so readily available in Gaza. Is this enough evidence in your view now, Dave?
Well, I think this should be convincing to people. I mean, why would you have a tunnel that goes 10 metres deep that's heavily fortified with concrete that leads to a blast door with a
shooting hole, yeah,
placement for a rifle shot to be a shooting hole? I mean, none of this suggests there's any sort of civilian purpose whatsoever. And I suspect we're only seeing the very early stages of what will be a pretty sophisticated underground tunnel command centre control network run by Hamas, all under Gaza City, but particularly under civilian installations. And, it's what Israel's been saying all along, and I think this is pretty compelling evidence of the truth of those statements.
Yeah, no, there's definitely going to be more to be revealed. It's just a bit too dangerous to go beyond that blast door in my conversation with the IDF a couple of hours ago. But Dave, we're out of time, but appreciate your time as always.